Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff Nackalier, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. This is live stream 935. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, we're not engaging in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. No, we're just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and usually we'll take a first look at a game. Every once in a while, I'll do a live review, as I did last night. But for the most part, it's usually first looks at games. And tonight will be no different. But we're actually going to dive on in and take a peek at something I know a lot of gamers out there are eagerly anticipating, especially solitaire gamers. And it is Mr. President from GMT Games. And this is one hefty box. No joke. And as you can see, it's a pretty thick box, as well as some little bug goes flying past. Oh, I see we're going to have to deal with that, eh? So that is what's on the agenda tonight. So, as usual, it's super casual around here. Anyway, also, should point out, if you are tuning in to watch the unboxing, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here, so it's probably going to be about 40 minutes before we jump on into that. So if you are watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax. We'll get to it. Don't worry, I've got some cool news pieces for us. But if you are watching 30 minutes or more after the stream has ended, well, then you can actually jump ahead if you're impatient, because there will be timestamps available. So you can hit the timestamp, jump right on past if you would like. Of course, those timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video, depending on the device you happen to be watching this on. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. It's like, did that bug just fly in my mouth? Maybe I'm imagining things. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And lastly, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you are a subscriber to the channel, and you have been for at least 48 hours, you can take part in chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something about Mr. President you want to get a closer look at, then by all means, chime in and I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight in chat is Kathy Evans. We also have Jack Hanks, who is watching for the first time live and taking part in chat. Welcome, Jack. Stray Kismet, Agent Especial, Kevin R. Smith is also joining the fray, as is 245 Trioxin. So, welcome everybody. Kevin says they're just listening in as they're working on stuff. Probably won't get to chat too much. Well, that's okay. Good to have you hanging with us, Kevin. Let's jump on into the news because coming soon is Rome in a Day. And here's the latest from Alley Cat Games. The once thriving Roman Empire fell apart. Who can resist the temptation to claim some of the lands for themselves? Do you prefer vineyards or quarries? Or maybe you want a little bit of everything with some olive groves and an oil mill on top. All you need is to make a good trade, offer a beautiful antique theater in exchange, or add a few precious diamonds. Divide and swap lands, outguess and bribe your opponents. Create a prosperous domain from the lots of Rome. Rome in a Day is a simple strategy game based on the original cut and choose mechanic that will win the hearts of aspiring conquerors of all ages. Before the start, all players are dealt with their personal set of buildings. With the card of buildings, a pile of land tiles, there are actually 5 types, fields, city, olive gardens, etc. Gems, crystals, I guess they're gems / crystals. Choice of cards of smaller and bigger lands, reminder cards, and screens. And then you will play the game over a period of 4 turns. Rome in a Day is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, plays in around 15 to 20 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $29.99 when it arrives in stores in July. So it's called Rome in a Day, but you're actually divvying up the provinces of Rome because Rome has fallen. Kind of like, okay. Actually, it seems kind of interesting though. And $29.99, that's a pretty fair price. It seems like you're actually getting quite a bit for that $30 MSRP. Valwinius from York and Shazology are in chat with us. Welcome. Shazology points out, hey, how's everybody doing? It's been some time since they had stopped by. Yeah, I was going to say, because the name isn't actually ringing a bell. Not that I'm all that great with remembering people, chat names and stuff, unless you're hanging out all the time. On to the next news piece. The Kickstarter for Nano 9 Games Wave 2 is nearing 300% funding for AV Studio Games. Here's the skinny. After its breakthrough success in 2021, the Nano 9 games are back. 3 games to master, more great illustrations from Ilya Baranowski. Boy, that's a mouthful. Is your brain ready to play these 3 new tough and complex games? A Nano 9 game is a game that only contains 9 cards, 9 dice, and 9 cubes. Nano means something tiny. And Nano 9 games are all designed around the number 9. 9! Would you like to back this Kickstarter? 9! Or yes, ja. All Nano 9 games take a minute to set up and less than 30 minutes to play. But the gameplay is very intensive. First off, we've got 12 Patrols, which is a puzzly, solo, mostly abstract strategy game. 12 Patrols started as an entry in Board Game Geek's 9-card design contest, finishing in second place overall. The design intent from the start was to create a compact, brain burner type of solo puzzle game. The wonderful card art transforms this puzzle into a struggle for a leader to protect all 9 of their regions with a patrol of dice and cubes placed between each region, resulting in 12 patrols. Next is probably the most ambitious game of the series, making a nano game of Clinic Deluxe Edition, which has been an incredible challenge with lots of constraints. As you can imagine, using only 9 cards, 9 dice, and 9 cubes for a game with more than 200 tiles, 180 wooden meeples, and 28 pages of rules, shrinking down to a Nano 9 game has been an amazing designing job. Then we've got Asteroid Miners, in which you'll lead your crew of fellow belters in mining the asteroid belt, excavating valuable minerals in the cold of space. It's a two-player dice rolling game where you excavate precious metals using a precision drill and upgradable mining equipment, digging deeper and deeper into a series of asteroids. You'll use a dice pool to manipulate your drill components to match the minerals in your current extraction section. After successful extractions, you may sell your minerals to a fluctuating metal market, trying to earn more profit than your competitor to win the game. There is a short Kickstarter video, and when I say short, I mean short. It's about 35 seconds in length. But let's take a peek.
Hello there, I am Nano Alban, and I'm here to show you my latest invention, Nano Games. These will consist of 9 giant cards, 9 dice, and 9 cubes to track components. Careful though, they might look like simple games, but they are hard to master. These are the upcoming games in the Nano Games series. Get yours today!
You can score any one of the Nano 9 game titles, or I guess maybe it should be Nano 9 Games titles, because I think Nano 9 Games is kind of the what they're branded as. Anyway, you can score any of the 3 for a $19 pledge, or you can grab all 3 for a $49 pledge, and you've got 12 days left in order to do so. The expected delivery is May of next year. Should mention that if you recall, when I used to cover Victory Point Games titles when they were around, you might remember there was a game called Infection. And it was not a Ziploc game, but it was not like a boxed game, like a regular box game that you see from most publishers. It was a smaller box that came with kind of a slip case on it. Anyway, it was actually a really interesting game, and I liked it. It was pretty cool, and it was very different. Well, the Asteroid Miners game is from that very same designer, and I guess that Infection was the last game design that they had released, but they've got a few more on the horizon. So in the future, I'll probably talk about those as well. But I thought it was just kind of a little interesting side note. Pre-orders have begun for the Planar Bestiary for both Cypher System and 5e. Here's the scoop from Monte Cook Games. Fill your game with out-of-this-dimension creatures. This beautifully illustrated collection is filled with over 150 wonderful, terrible, and weird monsters of every level and challenge rating to add extra planar excitement to your Cypher System or 5e campaign. Whether you're exploring the plains or encountering these creatures closer to home, these monsters add an engaging and unexpected twist to your encounters. Challenge your PCs with creatures like the Abolisher of Sorrow. It erases memories so pleasantly its victims don't realize they're dying. The Galvanic Scar that springs from a wizard's lightning bolt to inhabit living bodies, or a vicious dream sprite known as a Morphesian, seeped down from a hidden layer of the astral plane after acquiring a taste for the meat of the real. The Planar Bestiary gives you 150 imaginative, unique creatures from across the planes and the 5e cosmology. Encounters for characters of all tiers and levels. inspiring ideas and monsters you can introduce in conventional encounters or while exploring the plains. Lots of material to use with the popular Path of the Planebreaker sourcebook, but you don't actually need that title to use these monsters. Right now, you can pre order the hardcover for either the Cypher System or 5e edition, which will be arriving in July for $44.99. Or you can grab the PDF for either. Probably wouldn't be getting both. Over at Drive Through RPG for $17.99. It's a pretty good deal with the PDF. It's actually a little bit less than half of the MSRP for the physical book, which is usually what we kind of see. Alrighty then. Now available in PDF is my final news piece. Is it? No. Can't be. Wait a second. I'm missing a news piece here, aren't I? I am. What in the world is going on with this? I swear, I don't know what the deal is here. All right, give me a sec because it's weird. So, when we're done with the news, I'll tell you what I normally do. And this is like the second time that this has happened with one of the basically the news pieces on my teleprompter. So there we go. I've got it. I'll just get the news piece from Drive Through RPG anyway. So now available from Mongoose Publishing is Traveler, the Imperial Navy. Without its senior service, the Third Imperium would not exist. The Navy is intertwined in the politics and economics of the Imperium, a training ground for the great nobility, and a route to social advancement for the general populace. The Imperial Navy details this massive force from the great fleets down to a band of new recruits. How are the sector and subsector fleets organized, commanded, and provided with warships? How would the Imperium fight and win in interstellar war? How is a starship crew organized? What is the underlying design philosophy of Imperial warships? How do major ships and their escorts interact? How would the old Expanse's fleet respond to renewed conflict with the Soleimani Confederation? Well, the Imperial Navy sourcebook has the answers. Right now, you can order the hardcover of the Imperial Navy for $49.99. It clocks in at 184 pages. You can snag the PDF over at Drive Through RPG for $29.99. So I was just mentioning how the Monte Cook Games PDF was a little bit less than half the price. Unfortunately, Mongoose Publishing is charging more than half the price of their physical book for the PDF. And yes, I know it gets old talking about this. Mongoose Publishing is overpriced. But a lot of their stuff's really good, and I like Traveler, second edition from Mongoose Publishing. And that's why I tend to share news. But yes, I understand. It's pricey. Scott B. Smith is hanging out with us tonight. Mentions news gremlins. You know, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I'll mention how I actually kind of do things when I prep for the show. And this is like, I think this is the second or third show in a row that the finished news that I've put together is not the same file that I download. So Something's weird. So let's move on to my final news piece. Because available in PDF from Modiphius Entertainment is Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 Viva la Resistance! Here's what I know: refuse, resist, retaliate. The Nazi war machine blazed a trail of destruction and tyranny across Western Europe for over half a decade. But in response, heroic resistant movements rose up to counter the hated occupier. In this brand new Achtung Cthulhu resistance themed source book, you'll find ample opportunity as a player to explore new resistant archetypes like the assassin, saboteur, propagandist, or resistance leader, with new weapons, equipment, and tools to help you lead the fight back. For the Game Master, there's a host of new Resistance NPC allies and adversaries to handle to bring color to your campaigns, a new Demonology spellbook to explore, plus charts and tables to generate missions and objectives, and 5 new Resistance-themed sandbox adventures to run. Resistant games are thrilling but deadly, and the possibility of discovery or betrayal is constant. But the struggle for liberation can be an inspirational one. Will you be able to free your country from the hated Nazi stranglehold? Will you be able to meet the might of Black Sung and Nachtwolf without the full backing of Section M or Majestic? And if you survive these trials, who will you become afterward? This source book features new archetypes, backgrounds, and characteristics to help bring your resistance operative to life. Dauntless resistance NPCs and evil Nazi nemesis to populate your campaigns. New weapons, tools, and equipment to arm you for the struggle. Brand new Demonology spellbook, as mentioned previously, to expand your arcane options, as well as tables and charts to create randomly generated resistance missions and objectives. Do want to point out this does require the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 core books in order to run. The 82-page softcover can be pre-ordered right now for $31.66. Taking a guess that the MSRP is going to be $32.99. So that is the price over at, well, I'm sharing modiphius.net because that's the main website. But if you're ordering in the US, it is modiphius.us for the store. You can also grab the PDF right now. It is available over at Drive-Thru RPG for $12.50. And Modiphius Entertainment sent me a copy of the PDF. So, John Hanks says, never played Traveler. I've heard it's good. It is. It's a great game. I, in fact, shared my Why You Should Play video for Traveler 2nd Edition from Mongoose Publishing. Or I guess it's officially Mongoose Traveler 2nd Edition, because actual Traveler, see, it's complicated, to be very honest. Because there's multiple Travelers out there. There's the Cepheus engine, which is also built on Traveler. So right now, currently, I guess we would say the official Traveler is Mongoose Publishing. But Mark Miller, who is the creator of Traveler, he's got his own version, which I've heard is just an absolute mess and it's unplayable, but I don't know. I've never looked at it. It's more of a toolbox than an actual game, is what I've been told. But I like Traveler quite a lot. And I know a lot of people get upset because the prices Mongoose Publishing charges for their books, but usually you get a good amount of content. Every once in a while, I'll be the first to point out, I've heard stories about people being very upset with some of the releases from Mongoose that people feel they're not getting value for money. But like the starter set, things like that, it's a pretty decent deal. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive Through RPG. So if you're going to visit, say, I don't know, Drive Through RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild or Storyteller's Vault, what have you, be sure to stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. And of course, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And thankfully, there are a lot of people out there who use the banner ads for the One Bookshelf sites and or paypal.me. And a big tip of the cap to all of you out there for helping to keep the gaming gang around. Should also mention, for a little bit less than a month, we still will have the summer game sale going on. So there are still about 150 games that are available. And of course, purchasing any of the games, of course, they're used. Many of them have been reviewed by me personally. But uh, if you are looking to help keep the gaming gang afloat, by all means, swing on over to thegaminggang.com, check out the current sale. And I know we've got people who are GMT fans watching tonight because we're going to be taking a look at Mr. President in just a couple of moments. I shouldn't say couple, just a few moments. And there are quite a lot of GMT titles up for sale. Worthington Publishing. So there's a good amount of war games and strategic games that are on offer. We've got some Flying Pig games as well as some Tiny Battle Publishing games. So if you're a war gamer or you enjoy conflict simulations, take a peek because shockingly enough, I thought for sure the GMT stuff was going to go first because it always does. I think I've sold one. So quite a bit out there. Russell Higgins and Anthony Good, as well as Shaz, are hanging with the gang. Now, wait a second. Did Shaz just, is that Shazology? No, it's not. Or it's a different account. It's kind of weird. We've got a Shazology and Shaz. Dun, dun, dun. I'm confused. All right. So during that odd, where did that Traveler news piece go? So when I'm putting together the show, I do that on my laptop, and I will use effectively it's Microsoft Word to put my news together for the teleprompter and everything. And then I have all of my images that you see, as well as various videos, and I put them all in a folder and I upload them to Dropbox. And then I come down here into the Duct Tape Studio, download that folder, and just plug everything in, right? So there you go. Although twice now. Oh, there you go. Shaz says, yeah, I changed my name because Jeff forgot about me. Well, Shaz, I remember. No, actually, I do recognize Shaz. Although I was going to say, it's been a while since you used that nickname. If it really is a change in accounts. Not just playing with my mind. So anyway, I was going to say, so I just use I just copy and paste the word into this one web address, and that's what gives me my teleprompter, although it's not really a teleprompter because it's not running. I scroll it myself because I can't, read that fast out loud. And of course, I throw little comments and stuff like that. It'd be like, all right, well, that's just moved along. It's like, so same thing, like, was it 2 days, 2 shows ago? Same thing happened. It was like, okay, got to a point. It was like, wait a second, we're missing a news piece in the teleprompter, not with the files and that, the images and stuff. So I don't know. That's really weird. And and I will point out that I tend to upload and overwrite the files as I go. So it's not unusual for me to have, say, 5 news pieces, and then I get an update or I get an email and I'm like, okay. And then I'll swap out a new news piece and then just upload and overwrite that file. And I did do that today, so I don't know if, but it's weird that it didn't have the news piece at all. It only had 4 news pieces. Yeah, I have no idea. No clue. Hey, at least we had the images. It only took me a minute to pop on over to Drive Through RPG and pull up the sell sheet info anyway. So, kind of cool. Kind of cool. All right. So, I don't really have anything exciting going on at the moment. Um, for any like random musings. I will say it's too bad about that submarine. It really is. Um, I'm not holding out much hope now. Granted, I haven't seen the news in a couple hours, so something's happened. I just don't know about it yet. But that would suck. Unless it was like the sub imploded, then it's like, well, okay, you didn't suffer. It was like boom, crunch. But a friend of mine posted something online, a buddy of mine from high school. And it actually, I had kind of been thinking along the same lines. He he was like, who's footing the bill for all this rescue operation for 5 people who knew the risks going down to the Titanic? I was like, "Eh." So of course I responded, oh, so you're saying, because he's like, these rich people, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like, it's like, why he didn't say why are we footing the bill, but he was like, yeah, who's footing the bill when he already knew the answer? Rhetorical question, right? So anyway, so my response was, oh, so let me get this straight. So when I go on my tourism visit to the moon and I get trapped there, you're not going to help pay for it? Jack says the Canadian Coast Guard's paying for it. Well, you've got US assets as well that are involved with it. So, eh, I hope, like I said, I don't hold out much hope, but I would hope that they would find those folks. I mean, All righty. So that's the only thing that's really on my mind tonight. After we take a peek at Mr. President, I am going to show you all the gaming goodness that arrived within a 24-hour period that I had mentioned last night. And it's like, holy jamoli. All righty then. Hey, amazingly enough, we do not have, Russell Higgins mentioned they love Traveler. We don't have a chat moderator in chat at the moment unless we have a certain individual lurking behind the scenes. So she may be there. So behave, everybody. Yeah, I was gonna say this is the first time in a long time because I assumed our pal the Madman. It's Wednesday. I think it's a gaming Wednesday for him. So, and no sign of one of our other chat moderators, which would be Flaming Huron, who is across the pond in Australia. And then we used to have Mr. Eddie T. He doesn't tend to pop into chat. I don't know if he watches anymore or not. If so, hey, Mr. Eddie T. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was kind of unusual. Russell Higgins says, "Oh, there you go." Sarah D pops in saying she's just polishing her band hammer in the shadows. Good to see you, Sarah. All right, so we're going to be diving on in and taking a look at Mr. President in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
It's time to eat, and doesn't that look good? It's so good, too. That's what everyone says about a Temp Taste barbecue sandwich. And you'll agree once you taste Temp Taste barbecue. In fact, how about right now? It's the perfect time to try our barbecue sandwiches, made from flavorful lean rounds of beef and covered with our delicious spicy barbecue sauce. Temp Taste is indeed a taste treat, now being served at our refreshment center. So visit our refreshment center now. We have a complete line of goodies to please you. While you are there, try a Temp Taste barbecue sandwich. You'll love them.
There's one sure way to beat that tired, thirsty feeling that naturally follows a hard day's work. Just stop in at your friendly Stag Tavern. Look for the sign of quality, Stag Beer on Draft, and order a cold, thirst-quenching glass of famous Stag Beer. There's nothing else quite as refreshing, as satisfying, and as downright good tasting, because Stag's flavor is the result of over a century of brewing experience. Notice Stag's rich, creamy head. Taste its can't-be-copied, smooth, dry flavor. It's America's first dry beer, extra brewed to give you that extra beer-drinking pleasure. Enjoy a cold, golden glassful of Stag Beer on Draft today at your friendly Stag Tavern.
Give me the eggs and no Wilkins coffee.
Give him the eggs, boys! A meal without Wilkins is a mess.
What kind of coffee do you sell?
Wilkins coffee.
Don't you have any other kind?
Sure, we have it, but we don't sell it.
This is the rugged G.I. Joe adventure team. At dawn, G.I. Joe heads across the desert in search of the mysterious missing mummy. Suddenly, an earthquake. No time to lose. Joe must get the mummy out. Can G.I. Joe win his race against time? You find out. The Secret of the Mummy's Tomb, one of the adventure sets from G.I. Joe.
And now, on with the show.
Yes, that extra beer drinking pleasure, as Russell Higgins asks, what is that? Could you define that criteria, please? Yes, when you're out and you're stopping into your favorite Stag basement for beer, it's like there's certainly no bar. It's like, what the hell? Hey, and you got a double dip of Wilkins coffee commercials, and Wilkins survived both of them. The odds of that happening are insanely small. But you were here, you saw it. Russell Higgins goes, ooh, Kung Fu Grip. I had that Tomb of the Mummy as a little kid. Well, I guess I probably didn't have it. My brother, my older brother, he's 2.5 years older than I am. He had it. But I mean, I remember it was in our with our toys and stuff. So, all right, moving right along. Tonight, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at Mr. President from GMT Games. Designed by Gene Billingsley, with a shout out to my pal John Welsh, who I don't see any credit on the box. I told a story about this last week when I shared the news piece for Mr. President. I'm not going to rehash it again, but John was actually the first designer working on this. Artwork and graphic design is provided by Donald Haggerty. This is a solitaire game for ages 14 and up, plays in 8 to 12 hours. Yes, you heard me correctly. 8 to 12 hours. So, like many solitaire games, this is designed to be set up and left someplace for a few days. Don't break it down. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe there's a way for you to like track your progress or something like that. Regardless, it carries an MSRP of $99. It is available now. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Mr. President, the American presidency, 2001 to 2020. Do want to point out before we jump on in that the fine folks over at GMT Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it's important for you to know that. So Scott B. Smith says, I thought it would have lasted at least 4 years as far as the gameplay. So I'm going to get the shrink wrap off here. Well, that's kind of funny. The game information is sort of like, okay. It's got a briefing, top secret information there. Yes, top secret documents. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Mr. President is a historical solitaire game about governing as the President of the United States in the early 21st century. It begins after you've been elected. It's about sitting in the chair and trying to advance your agenda while navigating ongoing crises, political enemies, public opinion, your relations with Congress and the press, and keeping your country secure in a world of rival nations and agendas that just seem to keep blowing up around you. Mr. President is a resource management game where you never have enough resources to achieve your entire agenda, and the path you take through an always unpredictable storyline rests on the choices you make. At the heart of Mr. President are the 180 crisis cards that help create, not completely control, the storyline for each game. The game boards allow you to see and track the domestic and world situations as the story evolves. This game is dynamic, deep, and immersive, which will frustrate and delight the solitaire player. I would hope it wouldn't frustrate you. I can see, challenging you. I don't know if I would have used the word frustrate. That's not really a good selling point for a game. There are no cooperative rules, but the game is great fun with 2 to 4 friends playing together to forge their way in the world. With cards in the mix and multiple subsystems representing the U.S. economy, Congress, Homeland Security, the press, presidential prestige, Russia, China, hostile rogue states, and staunch allies, no 2 games of Mr. President will ever play remotely the same. Says if you think you're ready for that challenge, go ahead. Raise your right hand and swear the oath. Then settle in behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office and let your imagination run wild. Flaming Heron and Kabuki Kid are both with us. So now we've got a couple of chat moderators on the scene with Sarah D and Flaming Heron. And Double K's in the house. Good to see you. All right, so let's open this up. See what we have got inside. Oh, that's pretty wild. So we get a letter from the previous president. So we've got the previous administration here with a letter to my successor, signed your predecessor. Well, that's kind of wild. And it's actually on, it's not just, regular flimsy paper. That's pretty funny. So we've got a turn sequence flip book. So the complexity is like a 4. I thought I saw a 4. And it's, of course, a 9 for solitaire play because it's a solitaire game. But I would think, having seen the layout of the boards, I'm thinking this is going to be a little more complex than that. Plus, Gene Billingsley designed it, and Gene tends to design relatively complex games. So we've got a how to play, and then we've got a governing manual. So let's take a look first at the how to play because it's only a few pages. So let's start there. Oh, wow. I'll show you the side of the box because there's like a timeline. Pretty cool. Okay. Introduction. Welcome to the White House. Here you are in the Oval Office sitting behind the resolute desk. Did you know this desk was a gift to President Rutherford B. Hayes in 1880 from Queen Victoria? Or that it's built from the English oak timbers of the HMS Resolute, a British Arctic exploration ship? Of course you did. I didn't know that. I knew it was a gift from Queen Victoria, but I did not know it was actually made from the oak timbers of the HMS Resolute. Many presidents since Hayes have used it as their official desk, and now you're sitting behind it, ready to begin your administration. Mr. President is a game in which you play the President of the United States, the POTUS. Your task is to lead your administration through a term of 4 years, dealing with the domestic, diplomatic, and military crises and opportunities that arise. If successful, you will leave the country and the world in a better place than when you started, leaving behind a legacy that will rank you as one of America's greatest presidents. So I'm kind of curious because it talks about you're playing this for 4 years. So wouldn't one of your objectives be re-election? That would be my thought. Jack Hanks asks, does it have the football? Kabuki Kids asks, does it have a button to summon a fresca? Scott points out the governing manual is just a high school civics textbook. So we're showing us the board. So we've got a main board, we've got a main sideboard. And this is supposed to be really, really big. Kabuki Kid says maybe re-election is an expansion. Well, what I'm thinking is that if there's like any sort of like victory point system here, you would probably be looking at needing X number of victory points to be reelected, and then that's it. I mean, the game ends. Because the way it's kind of laid out here is that it's just a 4-year term and you're done, which usually that's the mark of a failure as president. All right, so we get a how to play. So we get the beginning of turn sequence, U.S. special activations, activation phases 1 through 4, as well as final activations, and the end of turn cleanup and a consequences sequence. So the whole game consists of 4 turns. So each turn is going to take a year. Not to play, but it's going to represent a year. When you reach the end turn segment at the bottom of the rightmost column, the final activations, you will calculate the final consequences of that year in office and then move your counter back to the begin turn segment and begin another turn or year. You'll do this 4 times. Well, it says, or 8 if you want to stand for re-election and you win a second term. Well, there you go. So there is an opportunity to play two presidential terms. So that's cool. So Flaming Heron says, well, sure, if didn't get reelected, you were still the president of the United States. Not many people get to be that high. Well, I get that, but I was just pointing out where it's talking about, oh, you'll go down as one of the greatest presidents at the end of a 4-year term. So it's that's what threw me off, because usually a president who does not win re-election is not thought of very highly until maybe years later, such as maybe like Jimmy Carter. Although I think Jimmy Carter's really thought of just as a good human being, not necessarily he wasn't as bad a president, I think, as people think. I was around back then. Wasn't old enough to vote. In fact, I wasn't even out of grammar school, but still. So we have action points, or APs. So we're going to spend our activation points to get things done. So we have exceptional White House resource cards, natural disaster cards, terrorism event cards, cascading event cards, and then we have event cards. So I would think that we've got various different scenarios, because remember, it's 2001 to 2020. So, and I would assume that there are plans for like 1950s, 1960s. I know this game took a while to come out because it seemed like Gene Billingsley didn't want to wrap it up. He was trying to squeeze just as much in this game as possible. Kabuki Kid says, but yes, we had much worse presidents. Oh yeah, I'm of the firm belief that I think Jimmy Carter was a better president than people give him credit for. Luck just was not with him in many ways. But I think it was also that a lot of people didn't care for him telling it like it was, as opposed to sugarcoating everything. All right, so that's how to play. So here's the turn sequence flip book. It's a pop-up book. Hail to the chief. This looks really interesting. Disavowed 92 is with us. Jack Hank says, maybe you take the route of Polk and accomplish everything you promised to do and not seek a second term. Yeah, like anybody would be doing that these days. Or you could try to pull a Teddy Roosevelt, right? Try to come back after another president has been elected and try to deny them a second term with your bull moose party. So we've got our anatomy of the turn. So it looks like there's a track. And it's showing that you go down, back up to top here, down, and you go across all of these. And that is a year. So we've got beginning of each turn sequence. This is actually very thick cardstock. So, we're not talking punch board cardstock, but this will hold up pretty nicely. And as you can see, it's got a ring binder. Scott points out, didn't Cleveland get elected to 2 non-consecutive terms? Yes, he did. And Kabuki Kid is also pointing out that he did. So we've got U.S. SOE impacts. Strategic capabilities, cabinet focus. So in activation phase 1 and 3, because it looks like the activation phases are a bit different. It's not 4 of the same exact thing. So we have Russia or China actions. It says GMP 8 and 15. It says any 3 actions. In reaction to the world situation, you may now take a mix of any 3 of your possible actions as listed on the Master Actions chart's player aid. Domestic, diplomatic, military, or presidential. Of course, we'll get to that in just a moment. Hopefully, the image is fairly clear for everybody. So I know the video quality has been much sharper as of late, which helps because, of course, I got a new video card. That's what, kind of prompts the whole game sale that's going on. And as we're taking a peek through, I will also once again mention that I'm currently having a game sale to support the gaming gang. And it's many games that I have reviewed, some that I've picked up along the way. And there's still about 150 games that are left. And there are a good number of GMT titles, as well as Worthington Publishing, Flying Pig Games, Tiny Battle Publishing, etc. So if you are a war gamer, you may want to take a peek. So Flaming Heron asks, how many things have been sold now? I think it's like 50. I didn't get any new emails today. So Kabuki Kid says, yeah, the Carters are good people. So Scott says they were born during Carter's term, so they don't remember it, but I'm proud to call him a fellow Georgian. All right, so we're going through this is just, you're going to keep this on hand and just flip through this to walk you through the process of playing each year, each turn. So then we have our cleanup and consequences. Here we go. Historical scenarios. Each historical scenario has its own victory conditions. See the scenario booklet for details. So at the end of turn 2, you have midterm elections, which will determine the new makeup of Congress for your next 2 years. That's kind of cool. Oh, here you go. Here's your points, your legacy points. So 1 or less, you're mentioned in the same breath as James Buchanan. Yes. So we've got Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, FDR, Theodore Roosevelt. You know what's pretty funny is over the last, 20 years, Theodore Roosevelt's reputation has just skyrocketed. Prior to that, most people thought he was just a god-awful president. There's a lot of stuff that he did. I mean, without Theodore Roosevelt, you would not have a national park system. That's for what. Kabuki Kid says there's some Steam game where he plays the president, and it's sort of choose your own adventure style game. Well, I remember quite a few various different computer games where you were running for election. So you were running to be elected president, and they were of various quality. So Kabuki Kid says, yeah, national parks and football reform. Speak softly and carry a big stick. So he was behind the Great White Navy. Right, so this is the governing manual. How to be a president. So it talks about components, basic concepts. Talking about the POTUS, domestic arena, the world arena, diplomatic arena, military arena, and war. So we've got, oh wow, there's a lot going on these cards. That's for sure. I'm kind of curious if you end up seeding the deck. So Jack Hank says he's lived in North Dakota for a few years and Roosevelt is big up there. Yeah, because he spent a lot of time in North Dakota. So design note, game-wise, these 4 main activation phases are presented in a way that allows the various anti-player actors in the game to perform most of the actions in the left column, with one segment reserved for the US player's actions. Functionally, it's sort of a limited reaction segment amidst a variety of chits and crises, or I should say crisis, card plays, whose mix leans toward providing chaos and problems to solve for the US president and their team. Talking about your legacy points, which you're going to track on the board. Automatic loss, or the many ways of losing in Mr. President. Allowing a war between NATO and Russia will cause automatic loss. Allowing a war between Japan and China may cause an automatic loss. A victory for Russia is an automatic loss for you. Okay. A victory for China is an automatic loss for you. A level 4 rogue state on the board at the end of a turn leads to an automatic loss. If you run out of rogue state counters, weapons of mass destructions, Iran nuclear track, if it reaches level 5 and Iran and Israel are at war, you lose. North Korea nuclear track. So if North Korea and the Republic of Korea go to war, you lose. The lingering domestic issue track in the CONUS region reaches 6, automatic loss. Having more than 5 wars on the board at the same time, automatic loss. Presidential performance evaluation at the end of turn score of 16 or less, automatic loss. Failure to be reelected will cause automatic loss in the, here we go, 2001, 2009, 2017, and 2020 historical scenarios. And the last one, a scandal that leads to your impeachment. Oh, I don't know if that's an automatic loss anymore. Scott says they were lucky enough to hear historian Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's pretty cool. Speak on Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, she's a Roosevelt expert. More, I think, FDR than Teddy, though. But the whole family, really. At his alma mater a few years ago, she was promoting the biography she'd written, he thinks. So, Flaming Heron points out losing the game is an automatic loss. So we've got our actions. Yeah, what was that? A 4 complexity? Uh-huh. Yeah, GMT downplaying the complexity again. So we've got presidential master actions. I think there's a player aid that we'll probably get to see them all. Got scandals. I am exceptionally intrigued by this, though. So we've got bills, Greater Society Initiative, Supreme Court justices, legislative priorities, State of the Nation address, State of the Economy. That was the SOE that we saw earlier. I knew it was going to be State of something. Media relations, media slant, Homeland Security, world opinion of the U.S., or it could just be world opinion of us. Jack asks, can you start an insurrection? No, I believe that'll be the expansion that comes out. So you got the world arena. This is something else I saw when I was sharing the news piece. There's a portion of the board that shows like areas of the world. It's kind of like, oh, okay. We've got regional crisis, Russia, China. Russian and Chinese influence, Iranian influence. Then we got the diplomatic arena. Got the United Nations. Then we got the military arena. Wonder if we do any saber rattling at all. So, Simply Red says, now this is hitting too close to home. Tessie Trekkie's with us. Says, I didn't miss the show. Stupid work meeting. So Scott says, you lose if you're just impeached? Yeah, that's what it was showing. Man, there is just a lot going on here. Good thing you got that flip book. So Scott says, everything else seems so historically accurate except for that, I guess, that impeachment thing. Well, I think it probably gets to the point where it's like, well, do we want to start simulating that too in the game? All right, here we go. Oh my gosh, we got all these booklets. And that wasn't a booklet, that was a rule book. So here we have got our domestic charts. So looks like we've got just a variety of. So we have the this guy, the domestic crisis shit. Okay, so that's the past is prologue. Your party radicals make a power play. Okay, then we have world charts, regional summits. I would take a guess you're probably going to take a look at these based on various different cards you get. So Scott says, oh, it's the decision to simplify it to impeachment equals loss. That's fine. Just a very optimistic view of the system. That's for sure. Okay, so we've got military charts. But I was going to say, I kind of get the impression that you're going to access these various books based on whatever cards come into play. Because there's absolutely no way that anyone would be sitting there and be like, oh, okay, well, I can memorize all this stuff to play this. Wow. Okay, so there's more books here. Ally and Rogue States. So if you were sitting there thinking to yourself, wow, you know that $99 MSRP, That's kind of pricey. Look at what's inside this. As I pointed out, that box is hefty. That box has got to be 7, maybe 8 pounds. So we've got our different allies. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they're our ally. Wink, wink. So we've got different unilateral action tables in that. So we've got our world peers, Russia acts, cyber attacks, online disinformation campaigns disrupt, weaken, confuse, and delay. What? They didn't do any of that. Assist the Iranian nuclear program. Veto UN sanctions. Prepare for war. Probe NATO. Gulp. Remember, if NATO and Russia go to war, it's an automatic loss. Summits. Wow, man, this is. By the time you're done playing a game of this, you really will feel as if you've been president. So this is China. Looks like we're gonna have kind of the same thing. Cyber attacks. One belt, one road. Attempt to expand China's influence in Central and South America. Preparing for war. And then we got our summit tables there. Then we have presidential debriefing, examples of play, and designer notes. So a presidential briefing, or how to succeed at being Mr. President. So we've got the two worlds of Mr. President. So it says this is where you can win. So over on it looks like it's the domestic side. It says this is where you can lose. That is the international side. So it says, as president, you are confronted with two different arenas, the domestic and the international. Both will require your attention and your best efforts. You will find, however, that you do not have the time nor the ability to do everything that needs doing that you would like to do. What? You mean the president isn't behind everything that goes on in this country? Man, this is, I gotta say, this is cool. I am very, very impressed. The thing I'm curious about is the playability. That is what I am most curious about. I don't want to say concerned, but so Flaming Heron says, is nuclear war really the end? Don't we just change it into a game of Fallout? So Tessie Trekkie says, they remember an old PC game about running the US. If you cause nuclear war, you got the message. You have caused nuclear war. There are no flashy animations or mushroom clouds. We do not reward failure. I remember that game. There was a designer out there. I don't remember the name of that game, but there was another game that I think the name of it was Guns and Butter. And it was another sort of game where you were, I think, I'm not sure if that one was you were leading a nation or if you were just trying to mold the world. But those were, if I remember correctly, I think those were Apple. Those were Apple games. And we're talking like 80s, maybe early 90s. So we've got some examples here. Counter Manifest. So here we go. Some history. This is like designer history. This game design began in my head 20 plus years ago. Hey, there we go, John Welsh. Like I said, this was quite a while when I was talking about my John Welsh story regarding this game last week. So it says around 2013-14, I started to develop some more concrete ideas about how to actually create that game. Early on in the process, another friend and designer, John Welsh, helped me create some initial versions of the game. So it's been 10 years. That was, and I think John worked on that for a few years. Because I got to say, I don't think it was 10 years ago that I was out in California visiting with John. I don't think it's 10. Wow, if it is, boy, time has flown. Scott says this game looks super in depth, and that's as it should be for a presidential scenario, a simulation game, I should say. That's exciting. That said, would I ever make it through all the manuals? Probably not. Like I said, I don't believe you access the vast majority of these unless you're led to by the cards, because there's absolutely no way you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know all this stuff in the Russia World Peers booklet. There'd be no way. Here's our scenarios. So we have, I'm going to take a guess that we're going to have one that's just going to be, oh, there we go, right there. Core scenario, sandbox, 2000, whatever. So nothing is set in, well, I shouldn't say set in stone, but nothing is probably like seeded. So we have easier difficulty game, harder difficulty game. So this looks like this is our setup that we're gonna, it's showing us, it's talking about where, that's kind of wild. So it's giving you all these options. So if you want to go with an easier game, it's going to tell you, okay, so this is how you're going to set this up, this up, this up. And all of these entries are showing for an easier game, normal game, harder game. So that gives you that's a lot of replayability right there. Construct a crisis deck. See, I had a feeling that we would actually seed a deck for the various different historical situations. So it looks as if you're going to, you don't use the whole deck. So we've got the event cards, then we have other cards in that deck that I think are considered like specific historical situations. So we have 6 historical scenarios. What's different? Each historical scenario lays out the ways to win. In most cases, victory points are gained through completing objectives which are calculated at the end of the game. Legacy points play no role in the historical scenarios. They are neither gained, lost, or tracked. Only in the sandbox. Flaming Red says, just read it all and remember it. Hey, there were a lot of war games back in the day that was kind of like that. It'd be like, oh, okay. All right. Bust out all those case point rules. So we got scenario 1, 2001, 2004. So says September 2001, after your stirring joint congressional speech, a united America stands tall to bring justice to those who have brought death and destruction to our shores. Let's roll. All right, so, man, this is just blowing my mind, but in a good way. Scenario 2, 5, 2008. You were going to tackle the third rail, Social Security, and then a quagmire would get surged. A hurricane named Katrina hit the coast. New president of Iran would increase tensions, while Russia would begin to coerce its sphere of interest economically. And to top it off, you would end your administration with the Great Recession. Good luck. So obviously, next up, we have hope. Well, look, yep, hope and change. So it's 2009, 2012. Deal with the Great Recession? Check. Deal with the healthcare crisis? Check. Deal with bin Laden? Check. Will you lead on the world stage from the front or take a step back? Time to earn that Nobel. We've got scenario 4. China is constructing islands out of thin air. Color revolutions are roiling near Russia's borders, or I should say border. While in the Middle East, the JV team is about to hit the court. So much for that comment you made about the 80s is calling and they want their foreign policy back. Oh, it's back with its target, the liberal world order. 2013, 2016. 2017, 2020. A country divided, not even out of the gate, and the mark of scandal has stained your administration. Your party is wary, the media is suspect, and Russia and China are causing mischief around the globe. Commentators are speaking of a new era of great power competition. You did not think it would be easy, did you? All right, so that is our fun. Oh no, we've got just a 2020 scenario. So is this 2020 on? It just says 2020. Impeachment and a possible trial are just around the corner. Tensions with Iran are escalating. Unresolved, lingering domestic issues are set to explode. The Chinese Communist Party is trying to put the lid on a suspected new virus. It was a normal year. The strength of the economy would make your re-election chances strong. However, it's not a normal year. Well, I'm kind of surprised that we actually get essentially a COVID situation. I would have thought that that we would have ended in 2020, but it's like essentially maybe that's, well, it's not really a sandbox. Wow, interesting. Or maybe it's a scenario you're only playing the year. Maybe it's kind of to introduce you to the game. No. No, it says year 4 for your victory conditions. Very nice. Agent Especial was hanging out with us. Sorry, didn't say hi. I didn't see you pop in. All right. So, scenarios booklet, presidential briefing with the examples of play and designer notes, which will be what I'll read first. World peer China, world peer Russia, allies and rogue states, world charts, domestic charts, the governing manual, how to play, and the ring-bound turn sequence flip book. So that's our reading material for Mr. President. Now let's start looking at some of the other components. So we've got, 3, 4? No, more than that. Looks like we've got 5 or 6. No, it's 5. So we've got 5 punch boards with counters. Give you a better peek at these. So we've got regional stability and crises, U.S. military footprint, Iranian influence, UN goodwill, some numbers. It's like our relationships, wars that we might be involved in, Remember, if we have 5 wars on the board, automatic loss. So there's this one here. Then we've got China Influence Terror Group. Is that Andy Lewis? Bo Hamilton? These must be advisors. These must be like fictional advisors or something here. Just taking a stab in the dark on that. Flip these on over. Oh, it looks like we've got media. Well, that's cool that they actually give them names. So we've got, with our media, we've got radical, moderate. So it only looks like we only have moderate and radical. Okay. So we've got that. Oh, looks like we've got some scandals. The POTUS, Vice President, Chief of Staff, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State. So these are all informational counters. Just taking a peek at them. Got a lot of tensions here. Looks like we also have some military counters here with the Air Force, the Navy, Army. Looks like we got Marines and Special Ops. So we've got some modifiers on the back of these tensions. And then we have civil wars going on around the world, man. Those are a lot of civil war counters. We've got administration priorities. So lingering domestic issue, social security, cybersecurity, tax reform, job creation package. And then we got a lot more of these tokens here. These look like these are more for tracking. I'm sure almost all of these are like tracking counters. Kabuki Kid asks, what's so civil about war anyway? Scott asks, can we get this game into US classrooms? I'm sure GMT would love that. Okay, so here we've got the different actions. And this is the player aids. So with the domestic master actions, we can attempt to stimulate the economy. We can address a domestic crisis, address a lingering domestic issue, improve relations with Congress, party fundraising and support, track terror target in Canis, raid terror target in Canis, remove one tensions counter from POTUS/cabinet focus, encourage bipartisanship in Congress. Yeah, right. Sure. Shaz says, I think this should have been made a team game, a team of president, vice president, secretary of state, defense secretary, working together to resolve issues and diffuse tensions. Might be too much for one player. Well, it is mentioned that even though it's not a cooperative game, you can have more than one player working together. And it's mainly, I would think it's just more ballparking than anything else. Discredit, dissuade congressional opponents. So those are domestic master actions. Presidential master actions. Presidential presence. Use bully pulpit to rally support for or against a bill in Congress. Corralling the cabinet. UN speech to create goodwill. Presidential trip. Invite ally leader to White House to improve relations. Ask for resignation of Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, or Chief of Staff. I assume that's what COS is with this. We've got our military master actions. Request rapid capabilities, direct intel gathering ops against 2 different terror groups, move or deploy military forces. perform raid or strike on terror group, arm sales, resupply, and training with an ally, initiate hostilities, go to war, or make a cyber attack, use military professionals to treat disease, build schools and clinics, or create other infrastructure in a war-torn region. Then we've got diplomatic master actions, crisis relief, attempt to improve one region's alignment, attempt to remove Chinese or Russian influence counter in one region, make a trade agreement, decrease tensions, summit with China or Russia, attempt to impose sanctions, de escalate a conflict, and broker or offer peace. And then here we have our terror group holding area. And I want to say, I think Disfile 92 was talking about just how much space this game takes up on a table. And we haven't even gotten to the board because I'm pretty sure there's 2 boards. And then we've got these as well. So terror group holding area, civil wars, tension markers. So this is just, you're going to be putting markers here. Looks like we've got a war tracker. So the various different wars, status of conflict, type of conflict. So it could be air war or air missile war, naval war or air naval war, combined air ground or guerrilla war. So got those. Now we're going to take a look at the boards. And then we also have, we should have the deck of cards that we're going to take a look at. Oh, well, okay. So this board is not as big as I thought it would be. I was thinking it was going to be one of these like 6-panel boards and another 6-panel board, but still it's going to be 8 panels, it looks like. So this is our domestic side, is what it looks like. Or maybe not. Maybe this, no, this is our international side. Because we've got conflicts and then we've got the various different countries here. Or maybe these are relations between these 2 entities, like Israel and Iran, Israel and their neighbors, North and South Korea. All right, so pretty cool. But then here we have pending bills and bipartisan cooperation. That's why I saw that and I thought, oh, this must be the domestic side. Oh, we'll find out because we're going to take a look at the next board. Oh, yeah, this has got to be the domestic side. And now this one seems like this might be 8 panels. It is. So all in all, we're looking at a 12 panel board. So 6 of these panels long or wide and 2 panels high. So this is still part of the domestic side because we've got our cabinet drama table, cabinet effectiveness. Here's our turn sequence. So we start here and we just keep moving down, jump up here, move down, jump back up. So it's just up through all these until you get to the end of the turn, and that'll be the end of that year. So that is this side. We've got a scandal track. Then this is the section that's going to show us the continental US, Eurozone, Central America, South America, Middle East. So I'm going to take a guess we're going to be tracking their relations with us as well as things maybe going on within these locations as well. So Eastern Europe, Central and South America, the Russian Federation, People's Republic of China, there's Russian Chinese influence, Asia and the Pacific. Wow. Man, this is wild. Okay, so that is the bigger board. And then we've got our cards. Got some 10-sided, a 10-sided die and a 6-sided die. And then we've got the different cards that look like they have a lot of information. See, aren't you glad that I didn't spend a bunch of time, with my random musings tonight? We're already at, well, my time, 8:36. So we're past the hour and a half mark. Okay, so just checking the backing. Oh man, these cards are nice and thick. Although, as with any game that utilizes cards, I always tell you, sleeve your cards. You'll be happy for it. Even games that have nice, thick card stock, still, you chip a card. It's easier to tear a card than you might think. So Jack Hanks asks, am I going to do a review of its playability and replayability? I will do a review of this, but don't be expecting it like quickly, because as you can see, there is a lot going on to this. And you got to remember, with my reviews, I play a game 3 times minimum before I do a review, because who's to say, I don't play something wrong the first time. I'm actually going to zoom on down and in on this here. So the cards are numbered, and it does tell us what we have cascading events. So in, say, it looked like the sandbox game, you weren't using the cascading events. So it has awesome chief of staff. Your White House chief of staff is amazing. Many longtime Washington insiders consider them the best ever. Because of your chief of staff's brilliance, efficiency, and influence, you receive the following benefits each turn. So these are exceptional White House resources here. Natural disaster, flooding in the Northeast. Major quake hits Los Angeles. Mass casualties. Damn. Wildfires burn through the West. Well, yeah, you're going to play that every year, because that's kind of how it goes nowadays. Okay, then we have terrorism events. Foreign trained American terrorists target U.S. shopping malls. Right, let's not be giving anybody any ideas here, okay? Hotel bombed in Mumbai. New terror attacks in Northern Ireland. And then we have cascading events. Police shootings ignite nationwide protest, divide parties. Nation's 4th largest bank fails. Man, this is just wild. Okay, so these are all cascading events. Chinese cyber attack disrupts U.S. allies. I would take a stab, because it says cascading events. You might have, once again, like I said, you might be seeding your deck, where you would have one of the cards first, then another one, then another one. I don't know. Because, see, we've got this down here. Oh, no, wait a second. I get it. So you're going to start here. And then you're going to take care of this. And then you move on to this. I think that's how these work. Very, very interesting. So this is that a few different types of cards. Got more cascading events there. Cyber theft of sensitive intelligence, government information threatens national security. So then we have events. So these are just pretty much every game these come into play. Well, can come into play. Renewed outsourcing drives up unemployment. Bridge collapse kills hundreds in Pittsburgh. Highlights crumbling infrastructure. NGOs unite to combat crisis. Oh, so we get good news in some of these. Taliban resurgent in Afghanistan. Iran test fires new long-range missile. Yeah, but not too many of these are good. China reinforces troops near Indian border. Manila offers U.S. Navy unlimited access to Subic Bay naval facilities. Hooray! Another good thing. New NAFTA negotiations bring opportunity / controversy. Jihadists flock to Eastern Europe. Intel breakthrough on high-value targets. Growing into the office. Experience with the challenges and complexities of your job forges new abilities. Randomly draw one new POTUS attribute counter. Place it in a POTUS attributes box on your POTUS card and begin applying its effects immediately. This would cause you to exceed the max of 4 POTUS attributes plus 5 action points instead. Famine fuels desperation in North Korea. New automation technologies create huge increase in Chinese factory production. Take a look at one more. World economy's booming. That'd be a nice one. Like to see that. All right, so all in all, we have 180 cards. Strangely enough, I have noticed this as of late. No baggies. There are no baggies in this box. So we've got 5 punch boards. I'm going to zoom back out here. All right, come on. There we go. So we've got 5 punch boards of counters. So I've got a surprise. Well, it's not that big a deal. It's not like, you can't find baggies anywhere. But it used to be that with GMT Games, you'd get like these just huge amounts of baggies. Okay, so we've got the 3 decks of cards, the massive game board. We also have the player aids with the different actions that are available. We have the 2 sideboards. We've got the scenario book, presidential briefing, world peer China, world peer Russia, ally and rogue states, world charts, domestic charts, the governing manual, how to play, as well as, I'm going to put it upside down so it fits a little better, the turn sequence flip book, which is flipped upside down. And that is what we find when we take everything from Mr. President, the American presidency 2001-2020 outside the box. Designed by Gene Billingsley. Big shout out to my good pal, John Welsh, for his work on this. Also, swinging over to the other camera. All right, come on. Oh, hit the wrong key. Because usually I have my keyboard kind of off a little bit to the side, but it's like here. Okay, it's like right there, but it's at an angle a little bit. I knew that this was going to be, as this about 92 pointed out, a table hog. So I've had it like way over to the side. So I'm actually out of frame, reaching all the way over to like hit stuff. So Kabuki Kid says, no Mrs. President. Flaming Heron says, guess it's really true to life, unfortunately. Yes. All right. So, wow. Big, massive, long show tonight. But there's still one last thing I wanted to run through real quick, because I promised I would. I was blown away by all the gaming goodness that arrived over about a 24-hour period. So on tomorrow's show, we are going to unbox and take a first look at the new Pendragon starter set from my pals over at Chaosium Inc. So we are going to take a look. I know a lot of people are excited. I'm excited. Let's take a look at the back real quick. I haven't even looked at the box here. So I'm actually seeing the back of the box for the first time myself. I'm going to take a stab that it's going to be similar in kind of layout to the RuneQuest starter set. So we're going to be taking a look at this on tomorrow's show. So here are all the goodies that arrived. I already showed you I got Elf King. So this is from Lucid Eye Productions, right? Yep. Oh, sorry. Publications. So these are all things we're going to be taking a look at in the future. I also got the Days of Ire actual complete game as opposed to a replacement parts box. Already did a first look. I did an unboxing. I'm not gonna do another unboxing so that we can see the game board. So I will have a review of this in the very near future. So also got the new Paizo stuff for the month. Got a new flip mats. We've got High Helm, which we're gonna take a look at next week. And the latest adventure, I think it's the finale in the choosing. Yes, I know. I told you I would have the Paizo preview video today, but gotta be honest, I probably won't be getting it up until Friday. Okay, so we had that, right? Modiphius Entertainment sends Dune, Masters of Dune. Dune, Sand and Dust. Dune, The Great Game. I don't know why this isn't in shrink. The other three are in shrink. As well as the brand new Dune, Power and Pawns. So we got that. Kabuki Kid says, a lot of stuff. I'm not done yet. I had mentioned I got 2 big boxes from GMT Games. I should say my pals at GMT Games. Don't want people to think that it's only like Chaosium Free League Publishing and stuff like that. William Aarons is with us. Says it's good to see a game where the maintenance of peace, both internationally and domestically, is as important a goal of the game as is military victory in so many other games. I agree. Completely agree. So, talking about military victory, though. Seas of Thunder, which is naval warfare, I think it's 1939 to 45. Yes. Global naval warfare. Another big box. Not as big as Mr. President, not as heavy as Mr. President, but it's still heavy. I am very interested in this because I happen to be a big naval history fan. I talk about us playing Fletcher Pratt's naval war game from time to time. And then also another naval game, other Under the Southern Cross, which is, I think, the 4th volume in the, is it Fly the Colors? Flying Colors. Yeah, it's the 4th volume. And it's South American fleets. Interesting. I was trying to remember. I don't think I have reviewed any Flying Colors. Maybe there was one years and years ago that it would have been a written review. So I'm looking forward to that. We also have the Barracks Emperors, which is a card game of the Roman time of crisis. Show you the back of that as well. We got a couple of coin releases. We've got the British Way, Counterinsurgency. I think this is in India, right? Oh, Counterinsurgency at the End of Empire. This is one of the volumes that has like multiple games in it. So there's this one, and there's another one I shared a news piece about, which that was up on P500. So I think this is the first volume that actually is, I think it's got 3 or 4 separate games. You can string them together as a campaign. Then we have People Power, Insurgency in the Philippines. And this strikes me just off the top of my head that this might be another of the like smaller scale coin games to introduce players to the system, because some of them are pretty in depth. I'm thinking it is. I'm thinking this might be along the lines of Cuba Libre, which I got to be honest, that's my favorite of the coin games. So, because I'll be the first to admit, I mean, there's some stuff that comes out from GMT. I just can't get anybody in the gang to play because of the complexity level. So, Cuba Libre, quite a few of us have played in the gang. And then lastly, oh, I'm sorry, there was Kabuki Kid was asking if it's if these are Voco Runke designs. They are not. People Power is Kenneth T. And then we've got Stephen Rangazas for the British Way. So no, these are not. I don't think any of these are Volku. For a second, I was like, oh, is this one of the Levian campaign? It's not. Border Reavers is not. It is Anglo-Scottish Border Raids 1513 to 1603. Interesting. Looks card driven. Looks like it is a card driven title. This is also a pretty damn hefty box. But yeah, all that stuff came in the period of about 24 hours. So pretty wild. And yes, Flaming Heron is correct. We are set for quite a few Wargame Wednesdays, aren't we? All right, that is it for this time out. Man, almost 2-hour show tonight. Yowza. That is a long one. My voice is, I get buried. That's not true. Anyway, tomorrow, tune in. We're going to dive on in, take a look at the, I think, isn't it 5th edition? This is the 5th edition of Pendragon, isn't it? It's not 7th, because it's 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. Zip, 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 boo. Just taking a scan through. I don't see. I'm pretty sure this is the 5th edition of Pendragon. But we're going to be taking a look at this. Flaming Heron says 5th? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because there have been quite, I mean, the original Pendragon came out 86, 87-ish. It's kind of, So, oh yeah, Fleming Aaron says, yeah, they know they're up to 5. So yeah, so we're going to take a peek at this. I'm pumped for this as well. So a lot of cool stuff showed up. Yes. So we have got plenty on our plate for future shows. Sweet. All right. So that is it for an extra jumbo-sized edition of the Gaming Gang Dispatch tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. Of course, if you were watching live, thank you. If you watched live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, but you're keeping each other company while I'm reading through things and looking down. And I apologize if I missed anybody who popped in during the show into chat that I didn't say hello to. Thanks for popping in. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Be sure to like the video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as the upcoming Paizo preview for the month of June. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it happens to be in your neck of the woods. Don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest news, reviews, and more that you're not going to find here on the channel. And of course, until I see you next time, I also hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.